bringing you the latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Successful weekend for Liberty Hockey all across the board. We're going to start with Men's Division 1 on Rock the Rink. Flames pull off the season sweep of the Stony Brook Seawolves. An impressive weekend. Now, some people I think could get a little nitpicky here and be like, okay, the offense wasn't as clicking maybe as much as they'd hoped. Game number 2, a little bit of a scare. But the main overall theme, Liberty extends their win streak to 11 games.
Yeah, I would agree. I think obviously when you're rolling after night 1 and everybody's kind of getting a piece, DJ Schwenke has his hat trick of the season. Might even be his first Liberty career hat trick. I have to go back in the books to see. But at the same time, yeah, like you're getting so much production night 1, then you're expecting that to kind of trickle over into night 2. But I think the fact that Liberty had to, the biggest part, battle adversity, because I'll be honest, hurting from the coach notes after. Yeah. They were so banged up on the back end, you didn't even realize while you were watching the game. So I think for them to kind of battle through that adversity and pull out a gritty win against a rival, like I think is the most important thing. And now you set your sights on what's coming up this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, and I agree, right? When you look on paper, just at the overall kind of box score there, oh, what's going on here? And then kind of as Pat alluded to, when you hear about just some of the other stuff kind of going on, just the manner in which the game was played, you're happy, come away with the good wins. You did have some kind of firepower offensively going on up there, so some positive things moving forward.
Yeah, and I think when I'm looking at that game, the thing that impressed me most was game 1. I mean, Stony Brook was 0 for 11 on the power play, so your PK unit
getting in some work.
Yeah. Really getting fine-tuned before it comes to town. And also, I mean, DJ Schwenke's a big part of that PK unit. He was on the PK, the power play. He was doing it all. So just a really, really impressive weekend from him. And also, Matt Bartel had a great weekend, too.
Yep.
He's quietly putting together a really impressive season. I mean, he's jumped up to number 2 on the point sheet. And so I just think that that's something that you really need. And, I mean, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, has been. Pat, you mentioned banged up bodies on the back end. Dive into that a little bit more for those maybe that didn't get to watch the weekend series. Who are the Flames missing?
Well, I know Last Cable didn't make the trip, unfortunately, but hopefully he'll be ready this weekend. Grant Morton got hurt at the very end of game number 2 off of a big, vicious hit from Minerva. Colton Kovich, he was suspended after getting in a bit of a tussle at the end of game 1 as well. So, like, you're losing a fair amount of different guys on the back end, and then you have to rotate bodies. I believe even a couple other guys were out too. Mason Smith had to see some shifts on the back end for the Flames, and actually looked pretty good out there because I didn't even notice that he was on the back end. So, like, obviously he was playing his part and doing a good job back there.
Yeah, that's good stuff. You know, you mentioned Matt Bartel, okay, and that made me think. I had a note on my last roster, which I just happened to keep in my bag.
Revealing the secret.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And Matt Bartel, first 8 games of the season, 3 points total. All right? The next 5, he had 4. And then the 6 leading into last weekend, so the first game back, he had 8 points. So he's continued that. He's kind of getting back to the offensive production we remembered from a couple seasons ago when he had that breakout year. He's starting to look like that dynamic forward again, which is huge. Another guy that had a great weekend, and we've been singing his praises last weekend. This weekend again, Nick Pomerleau.
Yeah.
Coming out, the defenseman. He's saying D2, no mo. Call me D1. He had an impressive weekend, scored a big goal in game number 2, 2 goals overall.
Yeah.
I want to touch on that, Rhett. When I look at the stat line that we have here, it's just like, I love that it's the crafty vets.
That's true. Good point.
Right? It's awesome to see just kind of that scoring coming all around from guys who are just in there banging bodies and kind of doing the dirty work sometimes. But to your point, too, for Nick, going over the game and then the weekend with Coach Handy yesterday, mentioned Nick had a goal where I think we were coming down some sort of like 4-on-4 type of situation. DJ has the puck, and Parmelo's just cruising down the ice, just absolutely flying to be able to tip it in from either a pass or a shot. And a comment there of like how hockey has changed, right? What's a D-man doing crashing the net?
It's true.
So there's that to be said. And then in game 2, he had an empty netter, I think Coach Handy said, with 1 second left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like when we're talking goal differentials, as we're thinking computer rate rankings
Right.
as the season moves on, like, man, that's what we need. We just need guys who know, hey, the full 60 minutes we have to play hard, sacrificing the body, making the hard plays, and playing positionless hockey. Love it.
Yeah, I remember seeing that goal you were talking about. I was like, who just flew in there to get that puck? I was like, that was Nick Pomerleau. It was crazy. But I also just, I think I interviewed him for like the first time in the last series. It really impressed me the way that he carries himself. Just talking to him about that whole switch from, I wanted to be on D1, I got put on D2, but I told myself, just keep working, I have to earn it. And then he earned it pretty quick.
Yeah.
But he said, that doesn't mean anything to me. Every single week I still am earning it, week in and week out, and I just can't let go of that mentality. And I think this part of the season, when you're supposed to be playing your best hockey, it's showing the most. And he's really been a big-time player for them down the stretch.
Yeah, definitely has improved here in second semester. Looking strong, and the Flames need it right now, as Pat said, with injuries to the defensive unit. That's big. I think the biggest stat line for me on the weekend, and it's not the PK, it's actually DJ Schwenke. Because 3 goals, you saw him in the last home series, that power play marker he had where he took the pass off the half wall and scored on the PP. It was just like relief. And I'm not surprised he came back with a hat trick this weekend. If that line can get going offensively, Albert, Schwenke, and Gammer,
Huge.
that is big. Like, that's big come playoff time. I would say that's your biggest Christmas wish come true for Liberty hockey.
Yeah, and it's just shoring up your depth, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about how you had your top line that was consistently scoring in every game. Now you've got a second line between the Ottenbright Bartel Foltz line that, since that win streak has started, except for the first game at Delaware, that line has produced a point scorer every game. Now, if you're able to complement with another line that's contributing consistently as well on the scoring sheet, like that depth of scoring is going to play a large part in playoff hockey.
Yeah. We look ahead now, Liberty taking on, which I tend to think at the recording of this podcast, the rankings have not come out, but Adrian more than likely is going to be number 1.
Yes.
So number 1 coming to town.
Yeah.
And it's a theme that seems to happen a lot at the LIC. Adrian coming off a sweep of number 12 Calvin, beating them 7-2 and 3-1. Flames split the fall series with them 2-1 and then losing 4-3 at Adrian. So this is going to be a tough weekend and a fun weekend for that matter. Liberty, this could be I feel like this is your moment in some ways to come out flexing at home. If you have a real big opportunity on your hands here to cement yourself as a top 6 team heading into nationals.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Adrian is coming in, like you said, should potentially be the number 1 team.
Yeah.
Coming in with an 18-game win streak, number 1 offense in the country, number 1 defense in the country too. So, obviously they're checking the boxes consistently year in and year out. Coach Stalos has done an excellent job. He's on his quest trying to get his 3rd Murdoch Cup. And so this is a chance for Liberty, like you just said, to put themselves, kind of etch them in that top 5 and then kind of cement to hey, yeah, we will be not only a Final Four team, but this is the prep work to hopefully build us to move further than that too.
And to me, this could be and should be a weekend where after it, we kind of say, those who know, they know.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
On paper, when we look at the fall, maybe you could say, wow, Liberty really underperformed. When you saw us at one point in the year outside the top 10, you're kind of questioning things. But, look at the games we played, look at how they were close. And then, too, we just know the firepower that we could bring. So if we come out against we're kind of projecting number 1 here and make a big statement, I think it'll kind of just send the message to the league of oh, shoot, we were misrepresenting or understanding who this team really is as things are really come together here in the spring for us.
No, and it's going to be a challenge because Adrian, they haven't lost since October 26th, which that's a lot of wins between now and then. And then their only other loss on the season was to Liberty, night 1 of that series that they had in Michigan. But I think the biggest thing to me is how Liberty's defense is going to be able to handle Adrian's goal scorers. They have, I think, 4 or 5 different guys that have 16 goals in the season. So that's a lot to handle, especially when you talk about, Pat, the guys that you lost in this last series and guys who are still trying to get back healthy. So I think that's going to be the toughest aspect. But, I mean, the opportunity is huge.
I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to this weekend is actually the goaltending battle. In my mind, you got the best 2 goalies in the nation going at it right now. Ducotny's is a stud, really good. You know that Hunter Verostic is a stud. So key thing here, Liberty has got to get traffic. You've got to muck 100%. It up in front of the net because Ducotny's is not going to get beat cleanly very often.
No, I don't think so either. You got to get traffic. Another thing that has been very potent for you consistently through your win streak is the special teams. Obviously, we just touched on how the PK was phenomenal up at Stony Brook. More importantly, the power play. You didn't get a power play goal in night 2, but that's okay. You found a way to pull it out. In games like this versus Adrian and then also Niagara coming up, the Ohio series, the power play becomes so important. When you get the man advantage, you've got to find a way to capitalize at least once.
And that's nationals too.
Yep.
Anytime you take a penalty at nationals, it's just like, God. So we need to start being consistent with that here in the regular season.
Yeah, it's going to be big. And you mentioned you can't take 11 penalties in this game because you're going to get absolutely just worked and walked out of the arena. So, an exciting weekend coming up ahead. Again, Liberty taking on what we expect to be number 1 Adrian in the ACHA National D1 rankings Friday and Saturday night. It's going to be a barn burner at the LIC. Turning our attention now to a team that's got their swagger back.
Oh,
Pat.
yeah.
You wrote that on the notes and full force. Totally agree. Liberty heading out, Division I women's team heading out to St. Louis, and they roll, going 3-0, winning 5-1 versus number 4 McKendree. That's a big number, I feel like, in my mind. 10-1 versus number 12 Lindenwood, and then shutting out Maryville, who is number 5 in the nation. Carly Glover, 5-point weekend. That was huge for her. And the rest of the Flames followed suit. Zosia Adamek with 2 goals, 2 apples. Just a big weekend for this group. And then I think another big thing, your starter goes down with injury, and then Keith comes in, who had a little bit of struggles lately on the struggle bus. 3 really solid games, 18-19 one game, 20-21 the next, and then faced 30 shots against Maryville and stopped them all. So, big for her.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways this weekend. Like, okay, we don't have Amanda, who I think is one of the most underrated goalies during out her career at Liberty. Has Liberty found a way to get it done with Keith, and I think she was able to build a ton of confidence on this road trip because you're playing 2 teams that are currently ranked in the top 5.
Yeah.
I expect one of them to probably make the Final Four this upcoming year. So I think that is a huge thing for her to build confidence, like I just said. And then I think, like you talked about, Carly Glover getting her offensive mojo back. Haley Battles is starting to become a versatile, consistent weapon, putting goals in the back of the net. Like you said, Adamek as well. Multiple girls just contributing on this weekend series, and that's what you're going to need, right? Like you need, I think we talked about it for the men. The ladies needed just as much that depth of scoring, especially once we get to playoff time.
Yeah, and that's tough for Keith. I mean, you're coming into your biggest 3 games since the second semester started, and you're able to pull out the thing that your starting goaltender probably would have done. I mean, so I think that for her was just huge, knowing that down the stretch, you don't know how long it's going to take for Amanda to get back, but the whole team really, it boosts their confidence that, your goaltender, she's got you, back there. And Carly Glover, I think that's huge, especially going down the stretch to nationals. Every team has you circled on their schedule. They know that you're starting to heat up. And so I think that getting this depth of scoring back to what it was last year is going to be huge.
And having Truder, too, pot 2 goals as well. That's big for this team. And Pat, tell us about this WMCHL All-Star game that went down as well.
Yeah, it's the first time that I think I was talking to Coach Lowe's, and even when he was still part of the team, Coach Forth, when they were talking about bringing the All-Star game. And, it's just an exciting time. Everyone met in St. Louis, and it was kind of like a mini showcase because I think multiple other teams and games happened around the same time there before the All-Star game on Sunday. And, Liberty had multiple representatives. They had 6 girls make the All-Star team, and Coach Lowe's was one of the coaches for Team East, and they were able to help that team come away with a 2-1 victory. So, and just a lot of fun. You got to see on social media feeds like the camaraderie that was happening with everyone, and everyone joking around, doing some shirt swapping, you know. So, like, just trying to, I think, just have a good camaraderie as we head down the stretch. And I don't know if you remember. You remember when the D1 men used to have an All-Star game as well?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
That was boy, that's like 3 or 4 years ago now, though. I feel like
it's even longer.
Maybe
pre-COVID for sure.
Yeah.
The last people I remember making it was McComb and Jackson Coon.
Oh, really? Was that long ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, that's the last.
That's
time
more than 3 or 4 years ago. That's 3 or 4 kids ago for me, for Andrew McComb. Yeah. So well, good stuff. A little surprised that when I see here, so Losey was one of the coaches for Team East. I feel like he should have been the coach for Team East. I feel like he could walk in and be like, all right, guys, I've won basically the past natties of your memory. I'm the guy today.
Yeah.
Anyways, good guy, Chris Lowe. Flames are now off until February 9-10. They as well are going to host number 3 in the nation, Adrian, in that game as the rankings currently stand. All right. Kerr had to leave because I was late, so I'll just be 100% honest. We don't get his Kerr's Corner today, but I did think of something on the fly here with Annie.
Okay.
Annie, would you be willing to share like any funny or awkward moments that you've had as sideline reporter of Liberty Hockey? Because I know recently we had a guy that almost just dropped the full-on F-bomb on air.
Yeah.
And he caught himself quick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was doing this.
I thought he full-on said it, and I was like, I'm talking to my producer. I'm like, did he just say that? She's like, I think he was right there.
Yeah. I think it was like 3/4 of the way out of his mouth, and somehow he pulled it back in. Like, I'll give him, it was impressive for him. But that was Hutchison for Syracuse that almost dropped it. But any other?
He was fired up.
Oh, he was.
That's
he was ready to go.
They were up 2-1.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'll tell a story. I don't know if I should tell this one because it's. This was
I'm curious now.
Oh my gosh, no! I think you were definitely there for this. Was the most embarrassing moment that I've ever had, like doing sideline so far, and I'm sharing it because it's in the past. The past is the past. It was like I think it was like my second or so week of doing sideline reporting, so I'm still like getting to know the team. I like the faces. I'm like, okay, I know the big ones. Like I know Calendar, everything. Yeah. But some guys I'm just still learning their faces, and I think I knew that this game, like, we were going to interview DJ Schwenke.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, okay, great. I was like, great. I'm gonna interview DJ Schwenke, and then, but that game, Reese Poulin had been called up from D2 to D1, and I don't know what happened, but I was waiting there to interview him after the second period, and I see DJ, and he's standing by the glass, like giving guys fist bumps before they come back in. So I was like, okay, I got him, no big deal. And he walks by. I don't know what happened. Somehow I end up grabbing Reese Poulin instead of DJ Schwenke, but I thought it was DJ Schwenke.
So you're just calling him DJ,
Oh,
right?
I'm calling him DJ. Yeah. So he takes off his helmet, and I was like, I don't remember DJ looking like that, but whatever, we're going to roll with it. And I'm like, DJ, something, something, something. And to this day, like, I thank Reese Poulin with all my heart for this because he played along.
Oh, yeah, he was a good guy.
He was really good about it. And he just answered my questions, and I was like, great interview. And then I walk off, and I think it was Cora was a producer. She was like, Annie, was that DJ Schwenke? I was like, yeah, what do you mean? And then she's like, Rhett is telling me that was not DJ Schwenke. Yeah. And I was like, worst moment of my life.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. That happens.
God, we know him now.
They look a lot different when the bucket's off.
That's true.
Yeah. So that was my most embarrassing one ever.
Pat, you got any good ones that you can recall here right on the spot?
Ooh. I don't know. Yeah, I think moment that you like and you bring up one time, I almost said I was talking about a save someone made. And,
this is one of my favorite stories of all time.
And so, for some reason, I got it. It was a big game, too. And I was like, he just made a hello type of save. And, that was like, probably one of mine.
Yeah.
But, many. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have more.
I've had short shifts has gotten me, and you can use your imagination for that one. Yeah, that's been tough. All right, let's get back to hockey here on the ice. Men's Division II. A good weekend for them. Back in the win column, they take on Keene State, winning 4-2, and then the offensive explosion, winning 9-2.
Yeah, big weekend for them. Obviously, unfortunately, after that Miami showcase, the goal was for this game, because this is number 4 in the Northeast, build confidence, right?
Yes.
And the fact that you not only win a tight game in game 1, but then night 2 you flex, and especially with special teams, you get 3 power play goals and a shorthanded goal. Sorry, 2 shorthanded goals. Like, I mean, Flames did it all in that second game, especially in the third period, and I think that's huge, building momentum. Now as they get ready to take on the Redhawks, and even more important too, just building momentum, because I know in their mind or in other, mathematically, they potentially could get that 2 spot, right? Like if something happens and things happen, but at the same time, you don't want them to get that 2 spot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying now, and I'm sure if they hear this, they're going to be like, what did he say? Hey, because, I'm on the train that Rhett has been talking about. I just think the momentum they're going to gain from regionals is going to be so huge. Like, right, you take, let's say they win this weekend, then they win that Northeastern trip. You take a 7-game streak into regionals, and then you win those 2, you take a 9-game win streak into nationals.
You're just feeling good about life. And to that gap that you don't get to play for so long,
right? Yeah,
I think it gets you. I'm on the regional train this year.
Yep.
You saw how it's set up.
Iowa. Oh, and Indiana last year.
Yeah, exactly. And then years previous too, when you took Liberty D2, and like when it was the Freeman and Dockstetter ages of D2.
Yeah.
That first time that they were able to get through regionals and make it to nationals, it was like they just played with so much freedom, because they're like, okay, we know how to do this now. And I think this is a young team still. You know, I know we had big expectations for them, and I don't think it's probably gone quite the way they were expecting this year, truthfully. But that's okay. Like, you can still have a tremendous outcome at the end of all this. But I think regionals is going to be a big part of it. Like, I think it's going to be huge for so many of these players to play some meaningful hockey games before you get there, where all the nerves are on. And in some ways, it takes the pressure off, because when you're a 1-2 seed coming in, you have that bye, you're kind of expected to do big things. 3 and 4 are always like, that's 3 and 4. They had to fight to get here. And then sometimes you see the 12 seed that makes it in, right? And number 4. True. So if Liberty can come in, shut off some of that pressure, and just play the way that they're capable of doing, that the way they have been doing on the win streak, then I think they're going to be in a really good spot.
Yeah, and this past weekend too, I think one storyline that was really fun to follow was Jacob Paget joining the team. It's Mark's brother, and they're on the same line now, and Mark and Jacob both had a goal game 1, so that was pretty cool. That was a fun moment to watch. And then also, I think going into this past weekend in general, Coach Hughes was like, power play, we got to work on that unit. And then game 2, they got 2 power play goals, and I think that was a big step forward for them. That's something that they really want to get going down the stretch.
And a couple of shorties in that game too, which is big as well. We want to say congratulations to Roman Lamoureux. 3 goals, 2 assists. He joins the 100-point club, which, good for him. That's awesome.
I mean, not surprised. I think if you watch him out there, he's probably one of the best players on the ice every time he steps on there.
So offensively gifted.
Yeah, he will. I think you could probably make a case he was snubbed last year for not making an All-American team. I don't think that'll be the case this year. He's definitely going to should have All-American candidacy, and like just night in, night out. Like I've heard Coach Hughes say it, Coach Garland say it. Like he's just so electric when he's out there, right? Like such a difference maker on both ends of the ice. Like I think it's well deserved by him, and hopefully, just sets up good things to come for the rest of the year.
For sure. Also, Scon played well in that first game, 41 stops. Game 2, the Liberty D played much better, only 18 shots on net. He stopped 16. So a good weekend for him as well. And you mentioned Miami Showcase last season. They won their lone meeting. They moved to 15-8-1. They're going to face number 5, Miami of Ohio. Remember back in the days when Miami of Ohio was just like Darth Vader for Liberty? Like, that's what it was. It was such a fun. I remember when Liberty finally took them down at Nationals in overtime. Oh, my goodness. It just felt like the best. It felt like Christmas.
Yeah. Well, like going back, so like, you don't know, one of my favorite Liberty memories is the first time they make Nationals.
Right.
You're calling that game. I was producing
Ola
that
was
game.
chasing to the
And
nearest post, couldn't get there in
we were
time.
hosting D2
Berger had to go for a
regionals,
stick.
and like,
Savone coming
they had to
in.
beat
Shot
Miami because
scores!
Miami was predicted a dark horse at Nationals that year.
Yeah.
And Liberty was the underdog
What a
in that
shot by
game
Bob
and came away with the
Savone.
victory.
High glove.
But like, just like the
And
fact
streaking
that
on the breakaway.
there's just been so many.
The Flames are up 3-2.
Like the fact that Liberty's been
Bobby.
able to better end of it lately,
Right.
but like even going back to that overtime thriller where they only won 2-1, right? But like
the Flames last
Blake Scott
overtime
had to
game,
make the
Devin
big save
Dockstader
in
will once
that
again
game
find the
too.
back of the
So,
net
like, I mean,
and
yeah,
give the
just-
Flames a
this is
2-1 win,
team
putting them
that
in the
is
first ever
historically
national
done
championship
well
game.
on both, not only their men's
First
too. We all know
championship
about the
game.
women's history with
Right.
them.
Really
So
excited.
yeah, it should be an exciting 2-game series.
It's kind of surprising that they haven't gone Division One.
Yeah,
ACHA.
it is. I agree.
In a lot of ways, they have a beautiful arena there. And they just have, you feel like the facilities to do extremely well in that capacity. But anyways, we'll see what the future holds. Men's Division 3 for Liberty, continuing their win streak, winning 7-0 and 12-1 versus the College of Charleston. Now have won 6 games in a row. Basir, 3 goals, 4 assists, and the rest of the boys pouring in points as well. A great overall look for them. Chubb get a shutout. Westbury, 24-25. So the team just keeps on keeping on.
Yeah, your boy Mikey Williams, 2
That's
goals,
right.
4 assists. Yeah,
Mikey.
I saw that and I was like, oh my god, he's like tearing it up the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, I think they're just getting contribution in a variety of ways, which is huge. And I think this streak was huge for them because now picks up because your next 2 are going to be really hard. I know we'll touch on High Point, but then also that old rival Coastal.
Oh man, yeah. I was looking at the notes and I was like, man, High Point's 18-3.
Yeah.
I remember when High Point just came into the league, and that was towards the end of my coaching tenure, and they were just absolute like bottom of the barrel, right? So good to see that program rise up to where it is now. Last season, Liberty beat High Point 7-1 and 8-2, and so High Point obviously doing better so far this season. A couple of the top offenses in the ACCHL, and also top 2 in goal differential. And then you mentioned taking on Coastal. That has just been like the nemesis of Liberty here lately. Oh my goodness, they just have been I always go into it, I'm like, this is the year Liberty's a better team. Like they're gonna get the job done, and then somehow Coastal just sneaks through and steals away victory.
Yeah, especially when it comes basically clutch gene.
Right?
Like,
it really is.
Like they've won 4 of 5 conference championships where they've met Liberty. And Liberty would win the regular season series, but didn't matter at the end. So like that's a big matchup. I know they have in a couple of weeks, but then this High Point team, number 3 in the country too, which is I was thinking I couldn't remember if they were around when you were still coaching, but I just remember Liberty always light up the lamp versus them. But not the case this year.
They tried to fight us in the parking lot after.
Oh really?
Yeah, Coastal. Their coach was just, I don't know. I don't think it's the same guy. He was a former semi-pro player that was a fighter, but he would as soon as the game was over, I don't even think he'd go in the locker room, just get in his car and leave. Like they didn't come together as a team, right? They're all in their own cars, and so we drive up there. I come out. No, what am I doing? I think I'm in the locker room with the guys chatting after the game, and then I kind of was with my wife in the lobby, and then one of the guys came up and was like, hey, coach, they're waiting for us in the parking lot. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? So I went out there, and everything worked out, but it was just funny how they were. They were. I will say this, though, about that weekend series, they were a good team, and we were kind of having our struggles against them as well. And this is one of those things where if they had known about it at that time, it probably would have turned the tables in their favor. But somehow we managed to get a Coastal Carolina poster. I think it was up for Liberty Football or something like that. But it had this massive Coastal logo on it. And so I just wanted to get in our guys' head that we were just going to stomp them. So I had our captain just put this poster right on the floor as soon as you walked in the locker room. So we stepped on the Coastal logo every single time as we went in and out of practice. And that thing was so diced up from our skates. But I think mentally it got into our guys' heads we're just going to stomp them. And we did that weekend. We hammered them and it worked. So I don't know. Good
That's
times.
Fun. Yeah, but this weekend series, I'm really excited to see what D3 can do because I think just from talking with some people on the team, their confidence is at an all-time high.
Great.
It's been a hard year, too. I mean, you have all the coaching turnover, 10-plus new players on the roster, and I think it's just taken them that fall semester, it took them a little bit to get their feet under them and really, figure out the chemistry, who works well with who. The coaches are trying to figure all that out. And yeah, Luke Basir, what he's done is a pretty cool story. I mean, he's a bottom 6 forward, and the kind of production he's been putting up these past 2 weekends is really great. And I know Luke, and he told me that he got switched this year to be playing with Ethan Dunn on his line, and he feels like that's been really great for him, and it's just a confidence thing. He feels like, they're working really well together, and especially, the CNU series was more of, CNU's not at their best, and, they're just kind of going to roll past them. But this past weekend against Charleston, it was less of the other teams not coming to play and more of, man, we are really doing a good job out here. And so this weekend I am excited to see because, you got a big team coming.
For sure. We got to get Mikey Williams on the podcast next week.
He asked me. He was like, can you guys get me on?
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah. Fun fact also about Luke Bessier. He actually pretty good commentator too.
Is he?
Yeah. He's done
that's
some
right.
of
I've heard about it. I've heard this kid has done some games.
Yeah, he's a sports. He works with me at the newspaper.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, he's sports journalism. Yeah, doing it all.
Good stuff. Well, set to be a fun weekend of Liberty hockey again. Number 1 Adrian coming into town, taking on the Liberty Flames. Friday night at 7, Saturday night at 7. Make sure you're there, and if not, tune in to the broadcast. For the gang, I'm Rent McGibbon. We'll see you next week on Rock the Rink.